Tim Farron.
Speaker, appropriate time to be called. And I noticed a tweet from David Cameron, the former Prime Minister, I'm sure we all remember fondly, earlier welcoming the Prime Minister's decision to call an early election, given that we are in this mess, in one sense, as a country, because he put party before country in calling the referendum when he did. It is hardly surprising that the Prime Minister should follow him and indeed choose to put party before country once again. Let's remember that give me a moment. For the moment that she took office, the Prime Minister has ignored the closeness of the referendum vote, has pursued the hardest form of Brexit, driving division instead of cohesion. She has ignored the British people, British businesses, the British public sector and the National Health Service. And now, in what is clearly another act of putting one's party before one's country, she has chosen an early election. Let's not buy this nonsense, not because she needs a mandate to deliver Brexit. The Labour Party has given her a mandate to deliver Brexit. She is acting upon the narrow majority of the referendum in 2016. Not for the moment. But let us all be very, very honest and clear about this. She has chosen this election because she looked across the dispatch box and she could not resist the temptation of doing the political equivalent of taking candy from a baby and facing a Labour Party in a general election. She expects a coronation and not a contest. And that is why the Liberal Democrats relish the challenge of a general election. I will give to my neighbour.
I'm very grateful for him given what he's just said about a coronation. Will he rule out a coalition with the Conservatives?
Yeah. Do you know the great problem we face in this country is that the Prime Minister is running on the expectation there will be no need for any form of coalition with anybody. The Prime Minister has called this general election in good time. Will call this general election in order to take advantage of what she thinks is a clear opportunity for a majority of 100 or more. I've accepted the gentleman's intervention.
What's the answer?
I've accepted the intervention. And it is very clear that we're not talking about balanced parliament. The Prime Minister takes the view that in calling this election is the opportunity for her to have a 100-seat majority, an opportunity to drive through not just a hard Brexit, but indeed her agenda to slim down a National Health Service, to slim down...
Order. There's a rather disorderly atmosphere. The Honourable Member for Anhelion and Yar is undertaking an apprenticeship to become a statesman. But he has several modules and some years to go. He must calm himself. He's listening to one. A statesman, Mr. Farron.
To answer the heckles from my friend of many years standing down below me, the reality is we are not looking at a balanced parliament. The Prime Minister has clearly, I think I've given you your answer. The Prime Minister has clearly called this election on the understanding that she can reach swathes with Labour numbers and give herself a majority that will allow her to do not for the time being, thank you, but to allow herself to deliver the hardest form of Brexit, to shrink our National Health Service, to undermine the support for our education, and indeed to take us out of the single market. Now,
come on, Tim.
If you want to avoid a hard Brexit, if you want to keep Britain in the single market, if you want a Britain that has a decent opposition, then only the Liberal Democrats will give you the final say. Can I just point out? May I point out? There is only one route, Mr. Speaker. There is only one route to the Prime Minister losing this general election, and it is a Liberal Democrat route. And I am happy to explain. I'm happy to explain why that may be the case. No, there is not that much time. Let me move on. Let me explain why the only route through which the Prime Minister could lose her majority as a Liberal Democrat is unless my friends and colleagues here on the SNP benches are about to launch an aggressive foreign policy, they can only gain one seat off the Conservative Party. Nobody believes, not even the Labour Party believes, the Labour Party will be gaining seats at this general election. So the only outcome of this election that does not lead to a Conservative majority is the Liberal Democrats' revival and growth in every part of this country. The government has already stated that it will not outline its negotiating stance any further than the damp rhetoric we have already seen. We say that that is not good enough. If they will not tell us what they are pursuing, they must instead trust the people with their say on the final deal. The Prime Minister has already confirmed that she will not do any TV debates, preferring to cower behind the hard right pages of the Brexit press than stand up and present her case to the British people. Yes, I'll give way.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. To help the honourable gentleman, I think he may have misheard my honourable friend who asked him a straight question. We have a word in Scotland. It's 30. Don't be one. Give us a straight answer. Will you rule out a coalition with the Tories? Yes or no?
Yes or no?
The outcome of this general election is uncertain, and in the days and weeks to come, we will no doubt talk about what will happen after. We will no doubt. The honourable gentlemen below need to, who are pushing me, I'm sure, need to be a little bit patient, and their patience will be at some point rewarded, as will my honourable near neighbour.
Ask him to call.
I don't think the honourable member gave a straight answer to that question, so let's try another question. A lot of his views will be asked about over the next 7 weeks, and he was asked one question which he refused to give an answer to, and I'd be interested if he could today. Does the honourable member think that being gay is a sin?
So I do not. And I tell you what, I am very proud to have gone through that lobby behind the honourable gentleman there in the coalition government where the Liberal Democrats introduced gay marriage, equal marriage, and indeed did not go as far as it should have done in terms of recognising transgender rights. However, there is much more to be done, and if we campaign in this election, as we will, for an open, tolerant, united society, then we need to make sure that we do not in any way be complacent about LGBT rights, not just here, but in other parts of the world, particularly, in particular, what is going on in Chechnya at the moment. But let me just say this. Let me say this. Do you know what? I won't. Thank you. Let's move on and finish. There are other people. I'm flattered that so many people want to know my views. I will put myself up for a leaders' debate with the right honourable gentleman, the right honourable leader of the opposition, and others. Even if the Prime Minister doesn't, you can have more chance to scrutinise me then. The reality is, though, that what we had in a referendum last June was a vote to start the process and give indeed the Prime Minister a mandate to negotiate Brexit. What was not given is a mandate to give this Prime Minister the right to enact any old deal at the end of the process. And that I won't. At the end of the process. What the Prime Minister is asking for now is a blank cheque to allow the British people to put up with whatever stitch-up she and the Brussels bureaucrats put together over the next 2 years. That is not democracy. And an election that takes place on the 8th of June will not decide their outcome. It will be about imposing upon the British people a deal that absolutely nobody voted for. So yes, the Liberal Democrats welcome this opportunity to show the British people that there is another way. But the values of tolerance, of openness and fairness can help build vibrant and successful communities and opportunities across the whole of the United Kingdom and beyond. The government has made it clear that this is not the Britain that they believe in. They have chosen isolation over cooperation, meanness over fairness. I believe in a better Britain, and that is why, Mr. Speaker, we will support this motion.